me for some reason, so I couldn't print the agenda, so I jotted it down. Now, my apologies for not having a September meeting. As I said to somebody, I am seriously entertaining saying one of the items on the agendas will become an election, so I can step aside and let someone else keep track of the agenda and that kind of thing, because I'm dropping the ball too often. It's pissing me off. But we shall see.
Yeah, excuse me a second. Can I find out who the dial-in person is on the phone? What is it, 4092 number? Just for the minutes.
Is that Paul Duarte? I can't unmute them.
624-4092.
Yeah. Andrew Rice, have you unmuted the call in there? Is that Paul?
No, I think they have to hit star 6 to unmute.
Oh, they have to hit *6?
Yes.
Okay, well, we don't necessarily know who's watching us. Make sure it's not Paul.
Oh, I'm unmuted. Finally.
It is Paul.
It's Paul.
I guess I was pressing #6 like a madman.
Jeez, Paul.
*6. All right.
Pound
back.
6.
Let's get rolling. Let's get rolling. Gotta see the game.
Okay. All right. So, opening agenda item would be the minutes from the August meeting that were taken, and I thank you very much for taking those, Greg. As usual, they're excellent. Does anyone have any comments?
No.
Hearing no comments on the minutes, may I have a motion, please?
Greg, I'll make the motion.
I'll
I make
second.
it second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Next on the item agenda, and that's, I guess I'm supposed to roll call vote. So let's just go around the horn. I'm going to go from my top left, which is Jason Claremont. Aye.
Aye.
Dave Stewart.
Aye.
Paul Duarte.
Yes.
Andy Sundberg.
Aye.
Greg Banner.
Aye.
And the chair goes aye. So now we have it officially with the roll call vote. So keep it in. Next would be public comment. Do we have any public comment? I don't think we have any public present, but do we have any public comment? Any comments from the members of the board that want to say anything?
None here.
Okay. Construction reports. Do we have anything going on that warrants keeping this on the agenda? Or should we remove it?
Would that include the potential to do something at the bridge abutment?
No, that's a separate item. That's way down in there. It's on the old business, the dinghy at the Stone Bridge, you mean?
Right. So
the construction is usually, third party looking at the bridge.
right. Okay.
I'm going to remove that. I'm going to remove that from the agenda.
I just want to make sure we don't forget about that.
Right. No, it's sitting down there. But the question is, how do we do it with no money? Sea level rise. I have not heard back from Chip, and ironically, he texted me last month to say, "Hey, are we having a meeting?" And I said, "No, because your chairman was incompetent." I have not heard back from him. He's probably getting ready for the game. All righty. Correspondence. Excuse me. Correspondence. I sent out, and I will scan and send to you, and put them on the agenda for next month, the letters to CRMC relative to, not CRMC, to DOT relative to the bridge over the Sepauwett, not over Sepauwett, over Netaquacket. And then also the letter relative to the dock that we approved the moving of. And did everyone see the article that was in the paper about us? We were quoted left and right.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, And I haven't received any fallout or flack from my neighbors yet, so that's good. About telling them to slow down or change the speed limit. So next is the Sepauwett and Fogland ramps issues. Paul, I still seen people down on the Sepauwett ramp.
I think
fairly
you're talking.
regularly.
Are you talking about the Fogland?
No, I was talking about Sepauwett.
Sepauwett is
Yeah.
that's Jack's Island. You talking about?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I haven't been down there. I know their the road. I can't get in touch with anybody. Nobody wants to take responsibility for the access road to that Jack's Island. So seeing that I can't get anybody to take responsibility, it is the town. It is a town. It's not a state, because Fogland is state and Sepauwett town, and but nobody wants to take responsibility to regrade that dirt road or gravel road, and that was really the only problem that I had with the Sepauwett ramp. The Fogland boat ramp could really use somebody to go and kind of refurbish that boat ramp. It's not, it's usable, but it could be made a lot better.
Yeah.
So if, I don't know if we can get somebody from the state to take a look at it, and there's a lot of people that probably from that area.
Is anyone aware of any roads that are being scarified, and scraped down and then repaved going on in town? I mean, that's a lot of debris that could, it's paving material that could be, it's in essence free. Hi, Chip. Chip just joined us.
Well,
I haven't seen any.
and that road really needs to be widened. That's a Sepauwett road too. It's kind of closed in on both sides. It really needs to go back to the original width, which is marked by the signs on both sides. It's kind of grown over on both sides, and so I don't know if we can ever get anybody down there from the town to take that back, because it looks like somebody. Because I had talked to somebody, and somebody had put some big boulders on the entrance, and those boulders are in the roadway. They're not on the edge of the property.
You're talking about Sepauwett now, right?
Sepauwett, yeah, those boulders. And so if we had somebody to take that, I don't know, somebody from the town's got to do something about that, I guess.
Don't hold your breath.
Yeah, if they could send that big machine down there that cuts all the trees, like in a swipe, drive down both sides of the road and just cut everything back there,
So can I ask a question? There are people that I can actually see that ramp from my house, and there are some people that use it all the time. There's one guy with an orange pickup truck who's there all summer long and longer. They need high clearance to get there, but I'm imagining a boat ramp there, and I can't see any place where you could actually park a trailer once you actually launch your boat.
Not a regular boat ramp boat. It's more for kayaks and dinghies and that type of thing. There's just a rock lined out into the water where the boat launch is. It used to be just for rowboats and stuff like that. They used to, years ago, when Jack, what's his name? Was it Smith? His last name? He passed away. And he left all that land to the Audubon Society. He used to rent little boats for people who used to go fishing down there and whatnot. But it's not a boat ramp in the sense that, yeah, you could bring a trailer and launch a 20-foot boat. You'd never be able to get it in the water. It's just for small dinghies, kayaks, and the like.
Remind me what we're concerned with both locations? I mean, what are the issues we're trying to solve or at least address?
Public access. Go ahead, Paul. I'm sorry.
Yeah, public access, removal or movement of the boulders that are kind of blocking the public access a little bit at the opening, the beginning where it goes around when you first enter the at public access, and really it's that and the regrading or regrading of the dirt. Well, it's not a dirt road, the gravel road.
So can I
There's
suggest,
some really big, huge puddles down there. When it rains, the puddles, get over a foot
Yeah.
deep.
so can I suggest, if we're not talking about this being a true boat ramp, that we come up with a different term for it so we can avoid confusion?
Well, it's on the chart as a boat ramp.
I think it's a distinction between a ramp and a launch. So
A
like
launch.
yeah, a boat launch would be anywhere you can launch a kayak or a paddleboard or something like that. The boat ramp
Yeah.
is actually a structure that goes
So
into
the power would be a boat launch then, and
That's a good
parking
point.
would be a boat ramp.
Yeah.
Launch for, yeah, I guess.
So basically for people that are car topping.
Mhm.
Right. That's a good point.
Well, you could bring a small trailer down there, a little
Yeah, but where are you gonna park it?
10-foot boat. Yeah, that's just it too. That's all got to be cut back again. It's all grown in on both sides. So
But I think this is important though, because if there's no place to park, then we're kind of on a fool's errand.
yeah.
Well, vehicles can park down there. I've seen them park down there. So the question becomes the parking of a boat or a trailer, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't think you can turn a trailer around.
We're misleading people by saying it's a boat ramp. It's not a boat ramp. It's a launch for small boats, kayaks, rooftop stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, then we should probably recommend the retitling of it.
Right.
That's a
Well, and just for, again, I can see it from my house too, and I think, not trying to keep track of it, but it seems to me most of the people that drive there and park there are doing either cohogging or picnicking. They aren't necessarily launching anything from there. There might be some, but I think the majority are not. They just drive out there and park and do what they can on foot.
Well, again, it's one of those things that, public access that we don't want to lose. I don't know if it's just for town people or if it's for anybody,
I think it's state.
because it's not a state boat
It's
ramp.
not.
It's not even listed
Hmm.
on, I don't think it's even listed on the public access.
Well,
Well, it's listed, but it's listed as town. It's not listed as state.
all right.
Well, I think it is very important for no other reason to maintain the access, because once you start letting it evaporate into history, you lose it. That could be that's stupid. That'd be bad on our watch.
Bruce, I agree. I think that I think we need to rename it though, because it's to think that might actually, in some people's minds, become a boat ramp is probably doing us a disservice for our effort to turn it into public.
I agree with you on that. I've just made a note of that.
I think that's very good.
But just changing it from Sappower boat ramp to Sappower boat launch.
Launching site.
Launching site, yeah.
And public access.
Because
Yeah,
really,
exactly.
if you actually drove in there with a trailer, you wouldn't be able to then turn around and back it into the water.
Right.
I mean,
Well, if you were good and it was a small trailer, you probably could.
No, I think we're misrepresenting it. It's very narrow. The potholes there are unbelievable, and it's a great walk-in place, but it's tough. It's tough driving in there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a launching ramp.
Okay. And it's Sappower or Fogland is the typical problem we've had. It's a state ramp and trying to you have to get dredging to make it really effective, correct? It's just a
Yeah, a whole refurbish of that whole ramp. It needs to be done, really.
Yeah, the angle of the ramp is too shallow, and then once you get to the end of the ramp, it needs to be dredged.
Yeah.
I was there today, and I think that we were talking about lobster traps that had been placed there, and there were lots and lots of baskets there that looked like oyster baskets. And my recollection was at one point there were lobster traps. So I get the sense that one person is vacated and another person is occupied. I did take pictures if anybody's interested. I could email them around.
Would you do that, please, so we can see it?
Okay.
Because that's been a classic problem. You just, the town sent, the police send a notice to the person and they tend to disappear, but then they keep coming back, and it's a battle to keep us busy for a while.
In fact, there's also a buoy there that has markings on it that would probably make it easy to identify the owner.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now that Chip has joined us, do we want to go back up to sea level rise for a
Oh,
minute?
yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Sea level.
Well, the sea keeps rising, that's for sure.
All right.
And I guess maybe the folks in Alabama, Mississippi, and Florida got the message. But certainly, I read today they got another hurricane headed for those
Right.
states again. So they're burning in California. They're getting hurricanes in the south. Maybe even some southerners got the message. And we're running out of time. We can't handle another 4 years without doing all this. We're so damn close to the tipping point, right? In which my jargon, nonlinear dynamics switches to an all new mode, right? So
There was a report 2 weeks ago that 2 of the major ice sheets in Antarctica are now much, much looser. And, I think we are one Greenland or one Antarctic ice sheet away from seeing a step function rise in sea level. So this is a real concern.
Yep. I saw that where the sea ice has moved away and now the glacier is coming down the hill even faster. And, Greenland is melted like this before in history, but, several 100,000 years ago. And not as fast in CO2 and not as fast the temperature rise ever. And let's see, I know back to 60 million years. So beyond that, I can't say, but that much I've studied. So.
My memory doesn't go back that far.
Mine either, but it's, what we study is the sediments at the bottom of the ocean. And there are clear things. If you're interested, I'll tell you about them, that send you the signal of what happened to sea level.
But on a local level, we've got to probably try to see if we can't get the town council to recognize the danger that Fogland is in.
Yeah.
With its road access and utility access. And then the other points. And then we'll go back later on, we'll talk about sea level rise when we're down several items on the agenda with the strapping issue.
Yeah.
So if we can jump back down to the sequence in the agenda, we got the U.S. Geological Survey data that Greg got us, but none of us speak Greek yet. I sent it off to a friend of mine who is, he said, he, as far as he could tell, it was an empty file, but you guys could actually see there was something there.
I think I might be able to get it, but I got sidetracked and didn't complete my work. So hopefully between now and our next meeting, I'll have a conclusion on that.
Greg, is it possible for you to introduce Andy to that person and maybe they can tell him where the key might be?
Actually, Greg had an email exchange, and in that exchange was enough information for me to keep going. So that was very helpful.
Okay, spectacular. I mean, if we can make that make sense to us, if suddenly there's a picture, it'd be great.
Yeah, and I gave Andy the whole thumb drive, so he's got everything. He's got everything that's available right now. So
now, did I understand that that's like a gargantuan amount of data that we received from them?
That's a good question. Let me see.
Yeah, I mean, it's likely all geophysical data. So sensor data from side scan sonar, multi-beam, maybe some magnetometer data. And so those TIFF files that are in there, Andy, those, you should be able to convert those somehow to either JPEGs or PNGs. I don't know what they look like, but when we did benthic surveys, we captured everything as a TIFF file, a TIFF
Yep.
file, and then converted those through an algorithm to pop out some JPEGs and pull some data out. So there might be some sort of converter out there.
I believe they're readable in ArcGIS.
Oh, yeah, that would make sense. Yeah.
And that's what I'm working with now. I just got sidetracked because I read one place where they would not be readable in ArcGIS, and I went down a rabbit hole on a whole other MBS reader. And so now I'm back on ArcGIS, but I did get sidetracked on other work.
Yeah, it seems they gave us the raw geophysical data, which isn't very useful unless you have, obviously, the software that can, churn that out and make all the, geospatial maps and things like that. So, but yeah.
Hey, Jason, do you want the full thumb drive? Do you want me to mail it to you? And
No, hold on to it for now. So we
let
know
Andy run with it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, let Andy run with it. I don't have access right now to a full geophysical suite. That's sort of, I work with people who do, but they're kind of slammed with work right now. I don't think they'd be willing to try to open that. And plus, with it being, I believe it's Orsted, and the place I work for has some work with them and competing companies. It might get a little weird. So
let's wait till I fail.
Yeah,
pass it on.
Yeah.
Okay.
I hope you gentlemen have enjoyed talking Greek. I think David's over there. We're going to give him a little nudge to wake him up. I mean, that was way out of my ballpark, I'll tell you. I told
I'm proud they're on our team.
Yeah, exactly. So people are concerned about the digging at Stonebridge. I think the next avenue of approach on that is to see how much of that can be legally done with volunteer work. I mean, we had a capital budget item of 10 grand for it. Has anyone else received a tax bill yet? I have not received my October.
No.
No, I talked to them today, and they're because I was negligent and I couldn't find my bill, and she said, well, you can't find it because you haven't got one.
Yeah.
I have them within the next week or two, and they're going to be due, I think November, early November.
Yeah, the only benefit to this is they pushed back the due date by a month.
Exactly, right.
But is it based upon last year's budget, this year's budget, or just anyone?
The rate
It's
is
a new
published.
budget. Pardon me?
The tax rate is published on the website. Let me pull it up.
Yeah.
It was.
It's going to be based on the new budget. That's what they're waiting for.
So it was, I believe it was a little bit less than a couple years ago and more than last year.
Yeah. Okay. So in other words, the bills haven't come out. We have no clue as to whether or not they're going to fund that. I wouldn't bet on it. Giving me odds, I wouldn't bet on it because they just don't have any money.
Yeah. So the tax rate
Count on
is 1619. Last year was 1579, but in 2018 it was 1639. So it's a little bit lower than 2018 and higher than 2019. And our assessments haven't changed, I don't think. So we can probably get a pretty good idea of what we're talking about.
Right. Yeah. But I was just thinking about money access. The flood hazard straps. Has anyone given any thought as to the best way of doing that? Or should we all just take our own shots at it and share designs and take pot shots at one another and try to figure out a way of efficiently doing that, so I can then go back to National Grid and Verizon and say, hey guys, here's an idea to use your poles. And do you have any public safety funding grant you might want to give us?
There probably pictures on the web. Let me look. I pulled up a bunch of those about that kind of thing.
Yeah, but our objective is to utilizing existing large structures.
Yeah, I know.
Their poles, yeah.
Yeah, I know that's the plan, or
That's the
at
thought.
least a cheaper way to do it.
Yep.
I don't know where the state is on that.
I mean, the issue is just fastening the signs to the poles.
If fastening some kind of marker, I mean, whether it be strapped.
Yardstick.
Yeah, a yardstick in essence. Single stick, and you put a transit in the middle of the road that establishes the road's elevation or 5 feet above the road's elevation and work down from there so that you have an accurate summation of what is in the middle of the road shown on the telephone pole adjacent to it.
So in a way, it's kind of a two-step process. One is to mark the pole with some standard height off the road. And then the second thing is to come back with a visual indicator of that height.
Right, or install a visual indicator. Dave just said, how about a yardstick? And maybe that's the simplest thing to do is fabricate, in essence, yardsticks or water level sticks that show stripes and say, at this point, you're at a foot, this point, you're at 2 feet, this point, you're at 3 feet. I don't think you need to go to 4 feet unless you're looking for thrill gauges, but I think at 3 feet, not many vehicles are going to go through, even the safety vehicles, the fire truck. I mean, that's an interesting question.
Rather than depending on interpretation, something much simpler like drive, do not drive. Like if it indicates water is above a certain level, just says, flooded road, I don't know, flooded road, do not enter or something.
Do we have a
People might
sense
get
of,
lost. They might think they have a high vehicle and, stuff like that, you might have issues.
do we have a
Yeah, I
sense
think
of,
if we just tell them the depth of water, that would be a better thing to do because then we're
gotta keep
liable for
it-
somebody
Gotta
driving
keep it
into.
simple. Keep it simple.
Yeah. We don't want to be liable for somebody driving in to say drive and don't drive, and somebody says drive and somebody gets stuck, and then
Yeah,
you got,
right. 3 feet
liability.
of water, people shouldn't be driving in.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, too, that even 6 inches, we should, start around 6 inches and every 6 inches a mark or something like that because, even 6 inches of water is, pretty dangerous for most cars, I know, especially if you're driving along fast and hit 6 inches of water, you got problems. You're going to be hydroplaning, I'm sure.
I got a couple images. I can share them with you if you like.
Sure.
Okay. Let's see if I'm just going to share my screen and then I'll bring them up.
so have we identified locations?
No, that'd be the next step.
Okay.
Here's one, right, a simple one. Just putting markers at the appropriate feet, can go right on, an existing sign. Something as simple as that would do. And while I think we want something maybe not as big, here's another one. I can make that bigger.
Oh, that's good.
Excellent.
Where's that?
Does the town own sign making capabilities? And I'm wondering if that would drive, based on their capability, would drive what, could be easily manufactured.
Hey, Chip, where was that other simple sign?
Okay. So there are some
Great.
simple ones out on the web. If I search again, I'll send you all some more.
Those are
Okay.
good, Chip.
Something like straps or something like simple things like that one on the stop sign or corner sign would be really straightforward.
Yeah, I mean, the flood gauge sign made a lot of sense because it had a line at 1, a line at 2. The other one on the street sign, it just said 1 foot, but it didn't say if it was a foot here or a foot here. That one was a little less, less descript.
Well, I'll take another look and,
Yeah.
I find
like
some ones that
flood
are
gauge.
more like a strap or go on a phone pole kind of thing.
Yeah.
I'll share that all with you.
Flood gauge one made a lot of intuitive sense, I think.
Yeah.
You gotta call it a flood gauge too.
Yeah, that's a good.
Know what the hell it is.
Okay.
Those are great.
Anyone have any contacts at Roger Williams University by any chance or other schools that may have an architectural or engineering program that would have some kind of facility like that, maybe? Brown have anything like that, Chip?
I know the people from the Environmental Center, they're most likely to have something, so I'll drop them an email.
Excellent, thanks.
I'll write down my things.
Onward, the new and latest thrilling thing we have to discuss, the idea of some kind of memorandum of understanding with regards to CRMC and the aquaculture exercise. Councilwoman Cook is adamant about it. CRMC is sort of saying, well, we're telling you about it. And it's like, yeah, you're being nice now, but I want to make sure you have to be nice. And I am personally of the opinion that we should push coastal to say that any applicant needs to, even if all they do is check the abutters or the land evidence records, the GIS map, the tax assessor's map, and identify properties that they will be in front of, and make sure that those people, not just the council or us, get notice of what's going on, because people don't look at legal ads and they don't look at that kind of thing, because the use of the water is public domain, clearly in the arms of coastal, but giving an aquaculture site to somebody is in fact precluding people from being able to use that, other than perhaps going through in their kayak. How does anyone else feel about that? Was anyone else other than myself listening? I think I saw somebody. I think Andy, I thought you saw you listening on the town council meeting.
I was away and on the road and I missed it.
Oh, okay.
So I feel really badly about it.
Yeah. The new guy is a decent enough guy. And I'll share you his contact information when I get to the office, but it's, he's marching the party line, if you will. We've been polite. We've told you about this. It's not in our regulations that we have to. And okay, fine. No one put it in the regulations. Let's have an understanding so that when somebody comes back, we do in fact get notice. And it's not I was told very clearly by his predecessor, hey, we don't have to tell you about a test site. We could have just looked at this ourselves, thrown up the public comment notice. If no one came forward at coastal, then we can say, yes, go ahead, do it. And that application in the pond had all kinds of holes in it, which would have been pretty nasty to have come back and bite us. But I really think, just from a logistical perspective, that should be in there.
What's the relationship between this issue and the town's jurisdiction on the water, like the harbor master and all the stuff that would be in the the harbor management plan if we ever finalize its stuff? What's the jurisdiction thing? I mean, that's the question here with CRMC, right? Is they're stating it's their jurisdiction because it's so far from the shoreline?
The moment you get below mean low water, it's them, and they have, and it's state owned, period, end of discussion. So much so that there's actually state law that if you happen to fill the property in front of the land, the water in front of your house, you make a wharf without necessarily permission, or even if with permission, you would put your dirt on top of what is in fact public land, and therefore people have the right to come on what you think of as your dirt, your wharf, and they can use it because it's on public land. You put your material on public land.
But what's the authority for the harbor master and moorings and stuff like that the town runs that's actually out in the water?
That is run through the harbor management plan, which gets the blessing from Coast CRMC. So we're doing it with their permission. So we're trying to get CRMC to give us a specific response with regards to aquaculture and giving notice to the abutting, the people. They don't consider the town so-called an abutter that you'd have to give notice to in a zoning or planning regulation, which if you want to do something and get permission from the town, you have to give notice to it within, for instance, in zoning or planning, within 200 feet of your property line. They do a little circle. They say, okay, these are the people that are within 200 feet of your property, and you have to literally give them written notice of the coming hearing. And that's sort of where I'm pushing towards, is something along those ilk of any waterfront people that are abutting the property or who have riparian rights. And that's the interesting thing at Winnisimmett is, what's the riparian rights of North Lane? Because it goes right down to the water. The two houses on either side do not, their lot lines stop at the road. And the road goes right down into the water. And there's, if you go over there, you'll see there's a lot of dinghies parked there for valid reason. So I mean, that's the jurisdiction over the water is coastals. We're trying to get a memorandum of understanding, at least some acknowledged from them, that this is what we will require applicants to do. The Chris Cotter's position is that, all right, you have jurisdiction over the water, but we have jurisdiction over the land. And if they're going to run a commercial project out in front of this land, unless it's commercial land, don't think you're going to be coming ashore. Although there's a dynamic right now about some judge has deemed aquaculture to be farming, and as such, it falls under the Right to Farm Act, which means, just as we discovered with the cows, Chip, we really can't tell them they can't do stuff, which is, I think, a little bit short-sighted that no one took that up to the Supremes and said, wait a minute, slightly different thing here. You have private land and cows sitting on it versus public rights that we are allowing the aquaculturalists to use. There's a dynamic there that's different.
Then all of a sudden, would it be like something that would happen with eminent domain, where they would get the right to use your property and go across your property?
Well, that's an interesting question, Paul. Ooh, that's one that's could CRMC take
Because a farm,
enforce a right of way across a riparian owner's property?
Yeah. That could happen because if they have no other way to access that property or that farm, because I have to deal with the right of way through my property, so I'm not thrilled about that. But nonetheless, if something like that were to happen, I don't. I'm just saying, could it happen? Maybe part of that memo of understanding would be that they wouldn't be able to use the butter's property. Now you got to fight, right, with the farmer, with the agriculture farm, and the abutter, saying, I'm only stacking, 30 feet high on my traps. Of course, it's on the low tide side or something. It's below mean low water, but nonetheless, here you are. You got your whole area that you had a beach, and now it's all stacked with traps. Who knows? I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Okay, interesting point. Well, how do people feel about the idea of following through, trying to push towards some kind of memo of understanding with coastal relative to giving notice and trying to gradually get ourselves a little more leverage? I mean, because as has been asked, I mean, all our activity on the water and our regulating of the water and the use of the water is with the blessing of coastal. If coastal says no, then coastal can take it away.
Well, has the town council told us to develop such an MOU? You said they have a strong
No.
interest in it.
No, it's the primary effort of Donna Cook, one town council person. The president, Hilton, was not Hilton. What's her name, Dave?
Patricia Hilton's the president.
Yeah, Hilton. Okay, it is Patricia Hilton. It was saying, it was, sort of blowing it off in regards saying, oh, we don't really need a memo of understanding right now. She didn't want to push for it. I think she's got bigger fish to fry, but that's what commissions are for, is to fry little fish, maybe.
But we would need to push it to the town council to get pushed over to CRMC or to the state.
No, we can approach CRMC. We're the contact point for CRMC for the town, technically. All notices are supposed to be sent to us, and I get them at work. Whoever becomes chair will get them at work or home, wherever they sent their email address and whatnot.
You're saying we could be the town signatory on an MOU with CRMC?
Oh, I didn't say that. No, the town
Oh,
can
okay.
only be, we could explore an MOU with them, and then come back and say, here's what they're willing to give us, guys, and we think it's a good idea. And then the town council could say, okay, I don't think they'd object to it. I just don't think they were willing to commit energy to it at this point. All right, so then we get into on my item is the concept of an aquaculture ordinance, and then the HMP itself. The aquaculture ordinance, in my feelings, would be in essence part of the HMP, the harbor management plan. And we were making great progress. It's very frustrating. I'm not sure where we could get together with adequate space. I mean, the yacht club had a lot of space at it. If they'll let us again revisit that, if people feel comfortable expanding their pods, if they will, we all wear masks and we're adequate distance apart. I don't think we're yelling and screaming and pushing out the viruses. That is the issue. How do people feel about trying to figure out if we can get back together, or have my 3 people who speak Greek figured out a way of doing this on some kind of shared screen that we could do?
Is this something that we need to do in public view?
We have to notice it, but no one comes. Anytime we get together as a group, we have to notice it. If we got together for cocktails as a group, theoretically we should notice it. We could say no business will be transacted, and then promise on Scout's honor that we didn't talk about harbor management stuff. We talked about boating and fishing and sailing and such, but we didn't talk about harbor management stuff.
So even when we're just sitting down, trying to sort of get our arms around this thing, that's got to be done in public view.
Yes.
Okay.
I think, with all the interest that the recent proposed aquaculture in town got, that there is a chance that the public might take a little bit more of an interest in the development and crafting of the HMP. And so my only hesitation, I guess, at this point would be if we did get, a substantial public presence, and then, we're in a space where, we got a few members of the public coming in as well, and, we're not as spaced out as we might be able to be. But it's not likely to happen, but it's just something we might want to consider in choosing a space. That I know there were a few questions about, does the HMP address aquaculture, from the public? So there might be, if word was out there, that they might actually catch on.
Well, I think having a public meeting, even with all those precautions, is still a risk. And I think that there will be folks who really object to having a meeting that's public like that, even with all the restriction. And you might well have some who walk in and would refuse to put on a mask.
Could we do it as a Zoom meeting?
Oh, The Zoom meeting is a question, and in terms of without a mask, that's town policy. You have anytime you go into a public town building, you will put on a mask or you will leave.
You may have to call a cop in some cases.
I have no problem with that. My wife is running at 75%. There was some statistics that say that if she goes in to the hospital on full-blown COVID, the probability of her dying in the first 2 days is 80%, 4 days is 85%, 6 days is 90%. So in other words, they're not betting odds. So I'm very much, I mean, I bought a COVID-19 mask at Humphreys. Actually, at Humphreys, they have these masks that they're putting them out as great dust masks and such. It's the exact same product that has been issued by Rhode Island Hospital to their employees as a COVID-19 mask. The negative aspect of it is that its exhaust is not got a block. So they're supposed to put a secondary little fabric mask there to stop their exhalation, but their inhalation is protected.
Yep.
And they're $60. They're not expensive. So I bought one and some filters.
So Bruce, let me ask you this. So we can't meet as a group without, without public. Yeah, but what if we took individually, took parts of it and passed it to other members of the group? So at least when we come together as a group under public notice, we have a little more of something of substance to make it a more efficient process. Is that something that we, a model, I guess we might be able to.
So long as it's not discussed, it's the issue is you're not trying to circumvent the public, the Open Meetings Act by having, you talk to me, I talk to Dave, Dave talks to Chip, Chip talks to Andy, that kind of workaround, that can't be done. But if you work on a section and say, here's some proposed language that I'd like to consider when we get together, that's legitimate.
Okay.
And a small subcommittee could do that?
Even subcommittees unfortunately have to be noticed out.
Oh, wow. So it has to be.
I mean, we don't exactly have a whole lot of people in attendance right now. I don't think, if we can figure out how to do it as a Zoom with a shared screen, I think that might work.
So could we
If one
characterize?
had a whiteboard, then at least you'd have one place where you could,
What's a whiteboard?
like a blackboard, but it's white and mark it with markers. So if you want to show something, one person could have that and you could draw pictures and so on.
Oh, I see.
And which we could easily do on Zoom. I mean, could we just characterize it as a Harbor Commission meeting and not advertise it as a harbor management plan meeting, and then make the agenda item talking about how we're going to understand the plan and divvy up the work?
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay. I'd like to help, but yet I feel remarkably ill-informed. My fault, because I really haven't gone through the existing plan, but I'd like to be able to help, and I'd like to be better positioned to do so.
Well, Greg and Jason have some drafts of what we've done, what we were tearing through, and quite honestly, guys, we were moving along at a good pace. Was it January?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the part that needs the most attention, and obviously this is, kind of precipitated by recent developments, is that aquaculture section.
Well, the existing aquaculture section says we think aquaculture is a good thing.
Yeah.
There are also a number of ordinances that a subcommittee, the mooring ordinance subcommittee, we developed, and I sent it to the town council, the town administrator, 3 different times, and he kept blowing it off. And it's sort of one of those things, okay, 3 times I tell you, I still have those, and they were intended to be ordinances and introduced into the harbor management plan. So I still have all that at my office. I can share that as elements for the harbor management plan. The other thing that was happening is that we were taking it out of a web or a loaded document on the internet that was in essence paper, just printed, and we were introducing the whole concept of accessing it from the internet as a site where you could go and click on and say, okay, here's the map section we're talking about versus just pictures.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm thinking of efficiencies, right? When we get together again for an hour or two to try to plug through this rather than starting at the very beginning and then getting into the semantics issues like we did last time. I think we should maybe choose a topic, whether it be aquaculture or moorings, and try to focus in on that issue on that day to try to nail down that section.
Mm-hmm.
And then do it, in focus. That way, those of us coming to the meeting will have, we can kind of tailor the background, that we look into and kind of come a little ready to go with that particular section. Just a thought on, because I think it's going to be a multi-meeting process. I don't think we'll be able to hash it out in one meeting, but I think if we hash it out in sections and then once we get everything populated, take a look at, because I know the formatting threw us for a loop, and it was just, the actual document itself is a little bit of a challenge, I guess. So yeah, I think just carving off pieces that we could, and then we could even, put it out there and advertise it as such. We're looking into the aquaculture policy on this date, or the mooring policy on this date. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a good idea.
yeah, just a thought. Try to build.
About, can we, again, I'm wrestling myself with this whole concept of working on drafts. To me, it seems like, I mean, the way Bruce, you're describing, what has to happen, we can't even work on a draft on our own. That has to be done in public view, which, basically as a taxpayer and a citizen, I just think is kind of a ridiculous way to run business because it's so inefficient. But what I have, I kind of have a thought, if maybe if we can take sections like Jason's talking about, and somebody, if we're allowed to, if somebody can do as much as they can with it, and then make that section a part of the agenda for one of these meetings. And somehow, like say for these meetings, let's say we're going to allocate 2 hours. So people, we're going to put the time in one way or another. So if we link it to these meetings and make it part of the public notice and say, and publish this section of the plan, and it's going to be 5 pages long and it's going to address this subject. And if it goes out for this particular Harbor Commission meeting, then the public knows it, and then we can talk about it during the meeting and try to knock it out, at least section by section, like Jason's talking about. With that,
That's legitimate. If an individual works on a section and says, here's my draft of it, and everyone has a chance to look at it, then we come together. It's when we start discussing it and making motions on, this is what we are going to recommend. That's when the public has a right to hear us talk amongst ourselves. But the individual working on it, that's perfectly legitimate. It's just like when Dave and I went out and measured the pilings last December. That was not a public meeting, but that was independent work, and we went back and reported to the council or to the commission what we found, that kind of thing. So that's all perfectly legitimate. Doing it that segmented format is perfectly legitimate.
okay, so we need to figure out how to break it up into bite-sized pieces and have people work on the drafts, and then we can either, tag pieces to these meetings or have separate meetings. And yeah, I don't know how you get around well, I guess if you publicize a meeting and you include, the notice, however pages we're going to discuss at that meeting, then it's available and people can look at it when we're all chatting about it. And that's, I think, all you need to work on it.
Right, exactly. I'm just digging into my briefcase here to see if I have any of those thumb drives left that had the harbor management plan that we developed. As I do.
I think Jason had the latest, because he had done the latest work on it, and probably sent it out to us, so.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
wanted to particularly share it with Andy because I know he wasn't a member then.
I think I might have sent it to you, Andy.
I did get them from Jason. I just need to read.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a Google Drive. So anybody that if you have a Gmail account, you can get to the Google Drive. I can send a link to everybody. It's
You want
too
to send
big of
that
a
out again? That's good. If
Yeah,
you
yeah.
send that out again, people will be able to look at it and say, here's a chunk I want to work on and that kind of thing.
Yeah, you don't even need you don't even need a Gmail account. You can just click on the link and then you can download it. It's too big to email, just because there's a lot of images in there.
Mhm.
But yeah, I'll send it around again.
Fabulous.
And I think if we need to, I think both Jason and Andy, it looks like they could take a grease pencil to their wall behind them and could be drawing things, writing things down if we need to.
It's slanted, so it might be a little weird.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
I think Magic Marker, my wife would consider that to be a great addition to the house.
Oh, wow. All right. So, well, we leave it at that. And I apologize again for missing last month altogether. It was all that was happening is that all the various meetings that were not had in the spring are now getting jammed in now. Those we're trying to catch up. And there have been weeks when I've been out 4 nights, which is always a joy. And it's just, you get distracted. And my notice obligation of 2 days is 2 business days. I made this one to the skin of my teeth, and Greg caught me on a little bit of a typo here and leaving the wrong month in, but I don't think it hurt anything. The notice was sent out that this is the Zoom meeting and this is the time and location, so it's no big deal. I did receive an email today from Peter Core. He is formally withdrawn from the commission. He did not submit his renewal documents that got bollocksed up because of COVID. All the rest of us are once again reinstated, but Peter formally resigned. Has anyone seen Roger Winiarski? I swung by. I went down Old Boogamarsh Road and saw his 3 cars there, but I couldn't discern how you get to his house. And I'm very tempted to actually, ask that a well check be done to make sure he's okay. Has anyone seen him in town?
I saw him a few weeks ago drive by in his car.
Okay.
I didn't see his wife with him or anything, but I know she had been right under the weather, or I don't know what medical issue she had, but that's none of our business. But
yeah,
she had something going.
He expressly asked for basically a leave of absence because he was attending to his wife, and I think there comes a point in time where you got to step aside and then come back, because there are people I believe that might want to be involved in the Harbor Commission that now we need to advertise from some slots. And if he's unable to, it's a shame, but we can make him an emeritus member or something.
Reach out to him in an email.
Doesn't work. No response. No answer at his phone. I literally have his phone number on my front of my Rolodex and have called him 4 or 5 times each week.
Maybe the thing would have to be U.S. mail. Send him a letter.
Yeah.
How you doing? What's going on? That type of thing.
Wait till after the election.
Yeah.
We don't want to clog the mail system.
Yeah, don't clog the post office.
Everyone says, how's this possibly going to happen? My answer is very simple. You tell the post office the only post mail you're going to handle for a 3 or 4 day period of time is election stuff. All else, commerce, everybody else can wait. We send out an enormous number of letters and standard stuff that 3 or 4 days is not going to bother one scintilla.
Mine's going in a Dropbox.
Mm-hmm. Of course.
Yeah, well, our president said, no, don't worry about COVID. It's no big deal.
Yeah.
No big deal.
I have to
You
admit,
guys,
I'm
the,
not worried much about him
5,000
getting it.
people, right?
Don't be afraid of it.
Well,
the,
gentlemen, while it's only us, we are technically on a public meeting here.
Yeah.
All righty.
All right, enough of that.
Call it
So-
a day.
Charles,
I've got 2 topics for new business, so
okay,
whenever that's ready.
yep,
Okay, so one, I did water quality for quite a long while. Then we stopped doing it because nothing changed. Now something has changed. The 30 cows are gone. So I'd like to propose that we now, in Sepauwett Marsh, where the 30 cows were polluting, run water quality one again to see if the levels have decreased, if the quality's up. So I don't know when our budget is and whether this is the year to ask for it, but we have a good justification for why we should check that one and that one only.
I didn't realize the cows were gone.
Yeah, they left. He sold them off.
Oh,
Yep, he did.
Okay.
I guess he lost his wife. That was unfortunate. And then, a few months later, he sold them off. So,
wow.
And-
my-
Good cows.
Did you have another item on, Chip, or just
yeah,
that?
one other one.
Mm-hmm.
That is, I think we should really confront the issue about Fogland becoming an island.
Mm-hmm.
Because it seems to me there's a really good chance it'll be nothing but an island and you simply won't be able to keep up with it. We just need one big storm. It'll wash all the way through. Give us another couple feet of water.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'll put that on as an actual item on the
Yeah.
agenda. So that'll maybe make someone, I'll replace the construction report with a standing item of Fogland as an island.
Yeah,
It's a good idea.
That'll make someone wake up and smell the coffee a bit.
yeah. I mean, I know people who live out there and I wouldn't want to leave them stranded, but it may be a reality you just can't avoid.
It's going to happen.
Do
Yeah.
we know the spot that's most vulnerable?
The whole place.
Well, have you been out there? Andy, have you driven out on Fogland Road and out to
I
the?
was there today and I don't have a sense of where the most vulnerable spot is, but yes, I was there today.
Yeah, okay.
Well, there's that spot where you get to walk to the backside.
Right.
It's basically an opening. So that would seem to be a high risk place. And once it starts to go, if you got all that water and the waves pounding,
Oh, yeah, just
much of that dune out once you got an opening.
go out to Martha's Vineyard and check out the back ponds there between the main island and the island where Kennedy's had their fun and games. What's the name of the bay there?
Chippequay.
Huh? Chappaquiddick, but they're the bay that's out
Yeah.
back
What
on
is
the
that?
south end.
Hmm.
Find out.
It closed up and then it opened up. It was opened when I was a kid and then it closed up and it was lovely and then it blew open again. But anyways, yeah, it went once it breaks open, it tears through.
Katama.
Katama Bay.
Come Bay.
Yeah.
You're right.
Okay, I will actually, Chip, I'll make Fogland as an island in replace of construction reports, a standing item on the agenda so that we can push that issue.
It's a really good idea.
Remind me when we do the budget proposal?
Mm-hmm.
When is that?
Then generally that is in November.
November? Okay.
The town administrator sends out a notice to the various commissions saying, and what do you need for money?
Okay, well, I'll ask, we include the
Mhm.
$600 then. I'll check with URI.
Right. Yeah. Find out what a single site monitoring
Right.
cost that we can determine, because that's a rather radical change, and if that changes the water quality there, that's a nice piece of news.
That would be really nice to know.
Yeah.
About the Rhode Island DEM, they had some interest in the water quality on the Sin and Flesh Brook. last winter they were looking for the source of pollution, and so they may be somebody to contact too.
So they did collect water quality, and I can't remember, I think, yeah, they did take samples inside the marsh. And one more on my to-do list, look to see what they've got.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, because they were concerned with some sewage. They found some
In the
sewage.
high school,
E. coli.
Yeah, well, they had the
something.
high school issue, that's for sure.
Yeah. So, but they were. That was last winter, in the early winter. There was a young fella and a young lady working together, and they were in a DEM truck. So I don't know. Might be worth to, if you have a contact there.
Did you talk with them, Paul, or did you just see them?
I did. I said I told him that we had done some work with the Harbor Commission, and he may want to check on those. As a matter of fact, I gave him, Charles. I think I gave him your information. I don't know if they ever contacted you.
Me
Charles.
or Kip? Yeah.
Yeah, Chip. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I gave them your information. But if I don't know if they ever contacted.
Nope.
Okay, any other items for the good of the order, as it were?
One thing, if I could, please, just quick, on the old business. I know we took out, and it's probably good because I can't do anything about it for now. But we took out the right-of-way accesses to. I think there were all the right-of-way accesses to water. There's nothing really I can do about that with all this pandemic going on, but I still that is part of excuse me, that's part of the harbor management plan, and I'd hate to see that die because there's, I don't know, some 20 access points throughout the town from north to south, and pretty much all of them are pretty much all of them except the obvious ones like Fogland and Stonebridge, the Grinnell's Beach, and the water access under the Secana Bridge. Everything else is kind of like gone and forgotten, and we was going to talk about marking all those with some type of marker like the town of Bristol has. I know it's not on the agenda anymore, but I'd hate to see that go away because I think that really needs to be done.
Okay.
Do we have have you shared a list of those locations that I may not have seen?
Yeah, I did. I sent it out for a meeting when we were talking about the harbor management plan. Maybe I'll send it out again.
I believe they're in the management plan as well. I think we captured
Send it
just
again.
about all of them.
I used the geological software to map. What I used was which one did I use? OpenCPN software.
The chart plotter.
Yeah, it's a chart plotter. And
So can you send out the GPX file from that?
Yeah, I have it. Yeah,
Okay,
I created a GPX file.
Perfect.
And I also had just did a screenshot of the whole town of Tiverton shoreline.
Yep.
That showed all the access points. And another one of the access points, to my surprise too, was access point on what's that pond down there, Non-Quit Pond. That I don't think anybody knows about, but there's an access point to Non-Quit Pond off of Neck Road. So, but yeah, I had it all in there. I'll find it and I'll send it
Okay.
to.
Great.
I'll send it up again out to everyone, and yeah, I'd hate to see that. All that. Well, I didn't put that much work, but I did contact the town. What is it called? Like the lawyer there. What's it? Not the lawyer, but
Solicitor?
the solicitor. Yeah, thank you very much. Here it is, right here. Mike Marcello,
Mm-hmm.
and like I say, everything kind of like died when the pandemic hit. So. And there's nothing really that he can do about anything at this point. But he said he was willing to help us too.
Yeah, the problem he will have is his budget and what he's allowed to do by the town council. But we can at least identify them. And I do believe in the harbor management plan, you'll find that a lot of them were visited by past members of the commission and actually.
Yeah.
But already.
I don't know if there's a way to document them, to go to the site, to document them, to take a photo, to go down there. But last year when I tried to do it, I mean, there was signs like, remember I brought it up at a meeting, there were signs everywhere I went, that no trespassing, trespassers will be shot on site and all that kind of thing,
And those who survive will be shot again.
Right.
So I ran against that kind of thing when I started to try to investigate them, and but I don't know enough about them. Am I going the right way, or that? Do I need to go with a town car or a state or police to access the point? There's a lot of work to be done there, anyways.
Mm-hmm.
Enough said about that. But I hate to see it. That's why I see it's not in the old business anymore. And
We can add it back in. We can add it back in. All right. Well, let's take a look at the sign issue, the flood hazard signs, flood gauge signs. And is that what you searched, Chip? Was flood gauges?
Yeah, flood gauges, right. Got a bunch of images, all those Google images.
I'll do
I
that.
shared a few of them. They had hundreds of
I
them.
think the first thing too is decide what we want on that and how much money we'll need, and we're gonna because
Yeah,
that's where it all
but we need to
starts,
get an idea first.
with the money. Yeah.
There you go.
Very good, gentlemen. What time is the
Time to
game?
go. I'm going to the game.
What time is this?
Pardon?
What time is the game?
Game's on right now.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah.
Kansas City's ahead.
Hi.
I'm watching it.
Alrighty.
Boy
Well-
is the quarterback. Motion to adjourn.
Okay, Paul.
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
All right.
Second, third.
Up in my top left-hand corner, we have Jason Claremont.
Aye.
Bruce Cox says aye. Dave Stewart says aye. Andy Sundberg.
Bye-bye.
Hi.
Chip Lawrence says aye. Greg Grant
Toodaloo.
says aye. And Paul Duarte says aye. Gentlemen, have a good evening. Time for
You
dinner.
too. Bye now. Thank you.